Hey guys, I'm back. I'm gonna do an unboxing of one of the figures today. I don't know if you're familiar with a figure like this, but in the I guess it was it was technically the 90s, but the very early 90s, the set of guys were released called M PACT, and let's see if I can get. This is one of the goofier guys, but his package is in a bit better shape than some of them. These guys were called M PACT, and they were a G.I. Joe, basically a knockoff. One could argue they're bootlegs because it's hard to tell which one came out first, but it's possible that none of these are bootlegs and that it was simply that three different companies had access to the designs rightfully by paying. But this company, Toymax Incorporated, Cedarhurst, New York, they did probably the most with the design. The series is called M PACT, kind of like this, but it's kind of strange because the M PACT is not really the team's name. The team's name is called Global Force, and the enemy team is called Shatter Force, which this guy is a member of. But if you grew up in Europe, you might have seen these guys. This is a company, I guess the company is M but I don't know how to pronounce this, and I'm absolutely not confident to say which language this is. It might be Portuguese or it might be Spanish. It might even be another country. But this is a toy series that included a lot of the same things, a lot of the same gimmicks. They also had these sound effect backpacks like the M PACT series of toys. The M PACT series of toys, mine in the package, I think all of them, the battery doesn't work, the battery is dead. But I bought these guys from a Canadian seller on eBay, and I bought a whole mess of them basically during the pandemic. I think a lot of people were selling their collections when the times were kind of tough, and I was fortunate enough that the Japanese government supported my business a lot, and I, instead of having the toughest times, I kind of had a great awakening where I realized how much family time meant to me because I couldn't teach students. I had to close my school kind of off and on for a while, and of course the first closing was the longest, but I kind of got back to basics and thinking that family is so important, I should work less. But because of the Japanese government's policy, I could actually get a very large amount of money, and actually made more money that year than I normally would. But through that situation, I bought some parts of some people's collections for certain figures. I wouldn't normally be able to do that because the prices would be too high, but that was the fortunate side effect for the pandemic, is the prices were actually almost insanely low for some things. But these guys cost me, I think, just a second, I think it was 8 figures maybe, and I think it was about $100 or $110 or something. And because of the Canada being close to America, shipping to my home in Kansas was actually not very expensive at all. So I was really lucky. I just couldn't touch them for those 3 years until I could come home to America. But anyway, like I was saying before, if you grew up in Europe, or if you had some international experience, you might be familiar with these guys. Kaido by M but there are a lot of the same pieces for the figures. Some of them are repainted. Most of them are slightly different, I think slightly different plastic or slightly different paints. But this guy looks like the majority of his arm was painted completely, whereas I think with most of these characters that are bare-armed, there might only be one that is bare-armed, but his arms are not painted actually. His arms are this color of plastic. But kind of interesting thing about these M.P.A.C.T guys and these guys is they actually don't have the nice flexibility of the G.I. Joe crotch or the U.S. Forces American defense figures. Like this is Brushfire. He's from Commando Force, the Sears pack from back in the 80s. These Toymax guys and these Kaido guys, or sorry, Bikini guys, they don't have the same flexibility. They actually have a T-crotch, which is not terrible, but when you are used to G.I. Joes, it is kind of a setback. They can sit down and they can fit in most G.I. Joe vehicles, but for characters that are supposed to be martial arts masters, like this guy, Wild Snake, it's kind of a bummer. His ninja kick is going to look maybe something like this, but he's not a ninja, but you know what I'm saying. So when it comes to these guys, this guy is the leader of the group. I know his name, but I cannot. Daniel Lee Crane, that's his name. But I thought it was kind of interesting. He's supposed to be Chinese, but he's actually the leader for the Global Force heroes. And the enemies are Shatter Force, like we said before. This is Dmitry Greco, the man. And I think he's the leader. It's kind of hard to tell from their profiles. There's this other guy Varga Tolstoy. He also kind of sounds like the leader because he helped organize the enemies. But because of this, I suppose it was the company's limited abilities, they chose to have 8 heroes and only 4 enemies. I suppose it could be, G.I. Joe did a similar thing. However, G.I. Joe had the foresight to choose like a trooper, like an army builder, whereas none of these are army builders. Nobody wants to have like 10 Varga Tolstoys for their team, or I don't know, 10 Dmitry Grecos, the man. But anyway, let's try to open one of these guys. Before I open him, I'll show you the other thing. I told you about Bikini, I told you about Toymax products. This is another company that used the same molds. This is actually American Defense. Somehow Remco, I think this is still owned by Remco, but this does say trademark of Kmart. So it could be that Kmart purchased the rights to Remco's products, but I think American Defense is usually a Remco product. Definitely U.S. Forces is Remco. But anyway, this guy is another example. He's got the T-crotch. He looks exactly like one of these other characters, but they just colored him differently. So my plan is to make him into a Red Shadows character. So because of his paint job, he's got black and red. But he also comes with the sound pack, but his battery pack is also out of batteries. So one day when we open him, he will be able to talk. So today, I think my son has opened the character called Kelly Nightwing. He's an Australian Nitro Blast. And my son is using him as kind of like a freelance neutral type guy. He sometimes makes explosives for Cobra. He sometimes makes them for the Red Shadows. He sometimes makes them for the G.I. Joes. It's kind of interesting. My son always chooses, he's a different team each game. He's like, today he'll be working with them. But, okay, that's cool. But anyway, it's quite fun having neutral characters. But I think today we're going to open this Englishman, Andrew Ness, Crimson Eye. And I'll read you his profile real quick. In 1983, Andrew Ness became a revolutionary researcher in HD TV, high definition television. And I've never heard of that before. His knowledge of fiber optics helped him develop pictures which were at least 4 times sharper than those in the past. It was this research which led him to his 3D holographic studies and helped him get recruited by Global Force. That's the hero team. Originally, Andrew turned Global Force's base of operations into a window on the world. He could simultaneously monitor different world events and help prevent certain problems from turning disastrous. As his research evolved, Andrew developed a system which assisted Global Force in training future members. With the help of holographically projected images, Global Force supervisors could simulate situations which would test trainees' reactions and instincts. The toughest and deadliest missions could be realistically projected so that the trainees would believe that what they saw happening was real, although the events were just illusions. Having made yet another revolutionary breakthrough by developing mobile fiber optical instruments like those used at the base, Andrew is now constantly called upon to join the team during their mini missions. It's strange because he's called the Crimson Eye and he has an eye patch. I thought I read in the past that his eye patch had something to enhance his vision, but now I don't see that in the profile on this card. So the profile did have one mistake. Instead of than those in the past, it was then those in the past. So, but yeah, I think they did a pretty good write-up. It sure beats the Bronze Bombers, sadly. The Bronze Bombers write-ups are really, really, really painfully simple. So maybe the newer generation, the 1990s version of the Bronze Bombers might have better profiles. So, but before we open him, the last thing, that M-PACT also had some vehicles and a base. 2 vehicles, a good guy kind of sports car that could transform to fly, and an enemy Shatter Force Aero Scorpion attack helicopter. And the good guy's vehicle was called Global Force Air Avenger Turbo Assault Vehicle. I almost bought the Global Force base during the pandemic. I made an offer on it and I was turned down, and someone else bought it for just $10 more than me. So I should have followed up my offer. I should have tried to buy it again, but it's okay. I'm very limited for space. So we already have a Red Shadows base, a Cobra base. Oh my God, we don't have really a G.I. Joe base yet, but we do have some stuff to make a G.I. Joe base. But anyway, we've got too many bases as it is. Okay, let's get this guy opened. I usually open the guys so we can keep the card intact. These guys, you can see his package was broken a bit when it was in my luggage, so we can actually just slide this part out. His accessories here, he has what appears to be a sniper rifle, some kind of a gun type thing with a scope that actually goes around his wrist. That's actually a really cool design. And then he has some kind of odd gun here. It also kind of looks like a sniper rifle because it has a really big scope here. And he has a backpack that has these things kind of like built into it. I suppose they're supposed to be some kind of blasters, but I honestly don't know if this will fit on his backpack because he has his normal backpack, which is a huge thing. This plastic is kind of notorious. It's the thing where people always get injured opening it. But I'm going to try... Now, where did I put my scissors? Right here. I'm going to try opening it from the side. Watch my fingers. This stuff is really brittle. I hope it's a little more forgiving on the skin if it does start to cut me. Because of the shape here at the top, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this out very smoothly. So I will cut across the bottom so I can slide it out the bottom. You can see the shape of the cardboard doesn't hook over, so it should slide nicely out the bottom. Okay. Had the relative that tried to open a plastic sealed thing as a Christmas present. He cut his hand up real bad. These things are common in America, but there's almost no packaging like this in Japan. All the things are kind of easy to open, but I guess Japan has a very low instance of theft, like nobody's stealing from the shops, so they don't really put security as a priority. Okay, and here is Andrew Ness. He's going to slide down into my hand here. Okay. He's supposed to say, target in sight, sensor locked on. That's his two sounds. I wish we could hear them, but I do have to replace the batteries. I've got some batteries here, but I don't know if I'm going to do it right away. It might take longer than it's worth for this video. The other guy that we put the thing in recently, Nitro Blasts, his thing was... It was pretty dodgy. It works some of the time, but it also kind of gets stuck, and it sort of repeats his words. So, and here is Andrew Ness. It's the winter in Japan. The room does have a heater on now, but it is pretty cold in here, so I'm going to move him very gently. I opened one old G.I. Joe guy. That was the 90s G.I. Joe guys. Okay, he's moving well. Oh, he's got an arm like Destro. He's got two little missiles. I don't know if you can see that. He's got two little missiles on his wrist. But I opened the kind of 90s G.I. Joe guy. What is it? Sergeant Savage or something like that? The guy, his knee just broke instantly. I know the room is cold, but that plastic in those Sergeant Savage guys, apparently it's just garbage. It's quite shocking. Okay, his knees are bending well. They're not too tight. They're not loose. Okay, his joints are all moving well. Okay, I hope you can see him. I'm not sure how well you can see him, but I might put him against this background so you can see him well. And if you'd like to know the story for Shatter Force, it says, at least 4 known criminals are the key villains in the evil Shatter Force group. Obtaining control and acquiring the riches of the world is Shatter Force's goal. They will stop at nothing to get what they want, causing mayhem and wreaking havoc. Oh, they said wreaking havoc instead of wreaking havoc. Wreaking havoc along the way. A constant obstacle in Shatter Force's path is the Global Force team, who continually foils Shatter Force's attempts to claim ultimate world power. They have a pretty good storyline going on. Okay, I'm really pleased with this guy so far. His collar design is a bit odd. He's got some pink highlights there in the middle. He doesn't have it on any other part of his body, but I suppose they did probably want one other color, so... Yeah, he's quite cool. Sort of in kind of like a jumpsuit almost, or a flight suit almost. Okay, I think we're going to go with the idea he's got some secret technology under his eye patch so he can see something very well. I tell you what, those little wrist missiles, now that is a very good addition. I really like that idea just because as a play function. It helps him get out of tight spots. Okay. I may try to do this thing real quick, but in the meantime, geez, what should I talk about? I didn't think about doing this on camera so much, so I might have to edit this out. Okay, guys, we are back. I did get this guy's batteries replaced. I actually gave a little talk when I was trying to do it, but somehow my phone just stopped recording mysteriously. But anyway, I took out the batteries. The old batteries are called A76s, but nowadays they're usually known as LR44s, I think. But it's the same type of battery. We do have this pack that goes with his backpack to make it fit a little more secure, but I prefer not to use it. I've got his weapons here. There's this one. Sorry, they're probably going to be hard to focus on unless I put them against something. Put them against my hand. And the thing that I thought was a backpack before, I think it's actually kind of like a turret. It's got handlebars on the sides and what looks like a little computer, but then it seems to have like sort of like a camera on the side and sort of a big gun, and then two smaller things that could be antennas or smaller weapons. And here is that thing that I think can fit around his wrist, and it has a little monocle part. Monocular, I guess it could be. Okay, and I've got him holding this, and we do have the sound working, so you should be able to hear it. It took a few hits after I got it in. It needed to kind of be bonked into place, but...
Sensor locked on!
Sensor locked on!
Sensor locked on!
Sensor's locked on! And... Oh, come on! It was working just a moment ago. Oh boy, one of them stopped.
Sensor locked on!
The sensors are locked on, but the other one doesn't seem to be working somehow. It was working just a moment ago, so this is so strange. I'm sorry, I thought I could just play it again, but now when I'm pushing it, nothing happens.
Target in sight!
Ah! There we go, target in sight.
Target in sight!
Okay, target in sight. Boom, 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 boom.
Target in sight! Target in sight!
Okay, they both work now. That's great. Yeah, I was gonna say, I recommend this guy if you like. This is just a gimmick, so it's not the good reason to buy the figure, and it may not work very reliably. Based on my son's other two figures, his hero Daniel Lee Cranes is pretty reliable, but Nitro Blast it does sometimes work, sometimes doesn't work, sometimes repeats. But the quality of the plastic, even though it's been many years, if the figure was stored halfway decent, I think the plastic will hold up. It's certainly 10 to 15 times better than the G.I. Joe. Oh my goodness, I already forgot the name of it again. It was the series I didn't buy at all in the 90s because they were the bigger scale guys. But they didn't have T-crotches, but they just break instantly, at least from my experience recently. But anyway, these guys... Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, these guys hold up well. The plastic seems to protect. It was really yellowed for this guy, but some of mine are very different. Some of them are quite clear. So it's a mixed bag, and you buy what you buy. So, but it looks like even with the yellowed plastic, the figure should be pretty good inside. So, okay. thank you for joining me. I'm going to edit these two parts together. Last thing I'd say is... Oh! Last thing I would say, not target in sight, but if you do buy these guys, if you do put the weapons in the hands, be careful. They are the G.I. Joe, like, a lot of them are fake G.I. Joe weapons that are just scaled down. But that's another reason why I thought they might be bootleg in some versions of these guys. But the weapons vary with the company. But anyway, do watch out. I don't know how strong their thumbs are. That's the thing that I haven't tested very much on. So I'm hoping you will open your toys and play with them. These guys are not to be missed if you're a G.I. Joe fan. They're very compatible. They're pretty cool for the designs. And keep an open heart, keep an open mind. There are great G.I. Joe figures, but there are bad G.I. Joe figures too. And there are great other figures that are knockoffs of G.I. Joe, but they are incredibly cool in and of themselves, and sometimes better than the G.I. Joe products. So anyway, okay, thank you for joining me. Bye. Guys, I forgot there was one more guy. It's William Sadler. Strangely enough, it sounds like the Hollywood actor. Firestorm, he's a firefighter. There are a few other characters I didn't get in the series. I didn't get Sergeant Ken Knight Snipe because he's got pink as a major part of his outfit. I didn't get Special Agent Tom Adams Oxy, though I would like to get him actually in the future. He's supposed to be like a chemical expert. And I didn't get Sir George Goodwill Waves. He appears to be a royal flight, I don't know, flight instructor or pilot or something like this. But anyway, check out M PACT.